Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's November the 6th, 2023. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined once again this morning by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented today by GameTime.co, your headquarters for all your Miami Hurricanes tickets. If you're thinking of going to Doak Campbell Stadium this Saturday for the Florida State game and you don't have seats yet, I suggest you go check out GameTime.co because they will give you the best options with the best prices guaranteed, and they will show you what your view will look like from your seat. Everything you could want in buying a ticket, you will be able to get at GameTime.co or through the GameTime app. We'll talk a little bit more about them later in the show. But Matt, first we got to talk about the events of the last few days, and man, I'll tell you, I was up there in Raleigh and, I'm watching the team like I always do before the game and watching them go through pregame and stuff. And I've been doing this for a while, and this team was very engaged in this game. They were ready to play. They were fit. They were ready to be physical. They knew that NC State was not going to be a walkover team, that this was going to be a tough slugfest from start to finish, and they were up for it. They really were. And, I think we saw that a little bit in the game. I thought Miami was very physical at both lines of scrimmage. The defense, for the most part, for most of the night, was dominant. Miami was running the football, but they fell into the trap that I have watched this program be in for way too many years now. And that is when you are in these tight games every single week against ACC opponents that also, like you, are not dominant, and one or two plays here or there are going to decide these games. You're going to win some of them, and you're going to lose some of them, and there is no getting around it. I used to call it same plus same equals same when it was Al Golden presiding over the program and Mark Richt presiding over the program, and now you've got Mario Cristobal taking over, and quite frankly, Mario may or may not be more successful than his predecessors as time goes forward. But right now, where the program is, it's not that distinctly different than what it's been for the last 4 or 5 years. And we get into these seasons and kind of get lulled into them a little bit. And there's no question that this Miami team is better than what was out there last year. But they still are in these close games because they don't have explosive playmakers that will tilt the scales. And they're engaged in 4-quarter battles, and 1 or 2 plays is just going to decide it, and they're going to win some and they're going to lose some. So this past weekend at NC State, they came out on the losing end of that after coming out on the winning end in the previous games against Clemson and Virginia. Georgia Tech, through some bizarre circumstances, they came out on the losing end. North Carolina, same thing, played a bad third quarter, came out on the losing end. But these are all razor-thin games, games that are very evenly matched. You see everybody in the ACC taking turns beating each other. And the thing that has really, really thrown me, Matt, is not that Miami lost one of these games, because I understand what's going on and that you're going to win some and lose some. It is the reaction of the fans. We came into the season. Vegas set the over-under at 7.5, I believe, which means, obviously 8 wins is a good season. 7, you underachieve. And that is where the outside world said this is where your program is. And what we are seeing now that the games are being played, and we don't know what's going to happen in the last 4, but we're seeing that this is where the program is. And but the reaction towards Tyler Van Dyke, who's been playing horrendously, no argument, and even more so Mario Cristobal, has been like venomous. It's been, outright cruel. I'm looking at a former Miami All-American superstar, posting a picture on his social media of the current quarterback being escorted off the football field in handcuffs by police. Okay. I mean, that's astounding. Absolutely astounding. So as much as what's been going on the field, Matt, I'd like to talk a little bit today about the reaction and get your thoughts. And, you kind of got to soak it all in now for what, about 36 hours or so. And have you been as, I don't even know what the right word is to describe it, maybe astounded? I mean, I have been a little bit astounded at the deepness of the venom being directed towards the quarterback and the head football coach.
Well, you're missing the reason for it. And the reason for it is because this is not the same plus the same equals the same. This is a coach who was supposed to be the savior of the program. This is a coach who Miami emptied its pockets for. This is a coach who changed coordinators. This is a coach who said the culture is fixed, who said how great things are in the preseason, how practices are going very, very well, how the team's great. This is a program that now has the best offensive line and running backs room I've seen probably since the early 2000s. It's a program that has a defensive system that's probably the best I've seen since the early 2000s. And it's an aggressive system that really fits the Miami mentality. And the problem now is the passing game that's led by Tyler I know like. That's what I call him now. He's not Tyler Van Dyke anymore. He's Tyler I know like. And it's very frustrating.
Now you're piling on too. Here you go.
It's very frustrating.
You're feeding red meat to your legion of fans out there who are angry.
Well, here's the problem with Tyler I know like. When he was throwing to Charleston Rambo and Mike Harley, he looked great. Even with
in a one-read Rhett Lashley offense.
Even with a not great offensive line.
And in a one-read Rhett Lashley offense.
Well, the offensive system made it very easy for him.
For whatever reason, be better suited to him.
Right. So, as much as Tyler I know like is the problem, and he is a major, major problem, he's not a top quarterback. It's obvious. Top quarterbacks don't have 4 games in a row like that ever in their careers, period. It's over for me with him. I don't care if the final games he throws, 20 touchdowns and no interceptions. It's over. I'm done.
You're politicking. Like,
no,
what you're planning on running for president or something?
I said this exact same thing before the game. I said the inconsistency of Tyler Van Dyke makes me crazy. I said he could throw for 10 touchdowns in this game against NC State. This is before the game. I said I don't care because he's already shown this pattern of inconsistency the last 2 years where you don't know what you're going to get game in and game out, and you can't have that. I literally said this before the game. If you want to win a championship, an ACC championship, a national championship, you can't have a quarterback who on 1 or 2 games, remember I said there are 2 games a year where he flubs and fails and you lose 2 games because of him. I literally said this before the game. You can't have that going forward. To me, Tyler I know like has done at Miami. There's just no point in even continuing with him. The only reason I don't start Emory Williams against Florida State is because I'm sort of at heart, I'm a baseball guy. And I know in baseball in particular, you don't just bring your top amazing players up to the major leagues. It just ruins them. It ruins them. Their confidence gets shot. They start second guessing themselves.
Now I'm applauding for you.
I've been saying this. I've said this before.
No, this is why you didn't say it before. You were feeding red meat to the people that are angry, and now you're speaking more reasonably. And I agree with you.
This is the same situation as last year when I said it's time for Tyler, not to bench Tyler, but we need to see what's behind him because the season's over. I said that last year. I said it's not about benching Tyler. It's about seeing what Jake Garcia and Jakari are because we need to know for next year, which is now this year, if those guys can even play. We found out. Thank goodness we found out last year because neither of them can throw a complete pass very accurately on a regular basis. So now we're at the same juncture this season, but now it's a little bit different, right? Because I feel like there's a really good young talent pool that you just need to develop for next year and the year after. And I want those guys to play in these final games. I think Miami needs to get those guys reps in action because you could see Riley Williams. Riley Williams has all the talent level in the world, but if you didn't play him this year and if he didn't drop that pass over the middle when he felt imaginary footsteps coming, he won't learn from that for next year. And he'll make those mistakes next year when you want to be a better team. So let these guys make those freshman mistakes. It's okay to make freshman mistakes. You're a freshman. I don't blame Riley Williams for that. That's what a freshman does. You sort of expect it. It comes with the territory if you're going to start a freshman at any position. They're going to make mistakes. That's okay. I don't blame Riley for that. But you need to put these guys in those same positions so they can sometimes fail, but also sometimes succeed and also come back from their mistakes and learn. You got to forget that last play. That's one of the most important lessons in football. And they used to call it FIDO at Miami, forget it, drive on. I don't know what they call it anymore. I don't think they even have a term for it because they expect you to do it, but it's easier said than done. And in the case of this offense and Shannon Dawson in particular, I'm struggling to really, in my mind, figure out, is it Tyler I know like, or is it Shannon not awesome? That is the problem. I don't know anymore because...
Can it be both?
Well, that's the question, right? Is it both? Is it the receivers not getting open? When you're sitting in the press box, Gary, you're watching it. It looks to you like the receivers are covered pretty well, right? Like just from a bird's eye view, because they don't have tape on it.
Thing. Shannon Dawson inherited Tyler Van Dyke. So he comes in as offensive coordinator, and Tyler Van Dyke is your quarterback. And he has to try to mold Tyler Van Dyke into the way he thinks and the way he likes to do things. And it clearly is not working. The question I have is, why was it working so damn well early in the season when they played Texas A&M, and why is it not working against North Carolina and Clemson and Virginia and NC State? I don't have that answer, and I am mystified by it because...
You know where the answer is?
What?
Watch any game in the country this year. There's always one off. It's just a one-off. It's a statistical anomaly where just a particular defense, and look, there's something to be said for A&M hadn't seen any Miami film. Miami, Ohio didn't see the real Miami offense. But regardless of that, even if they had seen the film, there's always going to be a game every single year where somehow Miami will be upset by somebody bad or will upset somebody great, like a Florida State, if they're an average team, because sometimes average teams have the ball bounce their way a few times. Sometimes an average team can have a perfect couple of passes on deep balls and score 14 points that they probably wouldn't have had on a normal average day. That's just where college football is now, and you see it every single Saturday. So that was the Texas A&M. That was a one-off. Miami was never a great team. What's Texas A&M? Texas A&M's like 5-4, but they have a really good defense. Okay, that's
about at the same level.
They have a very good defense, regardless.
Miami had them at home, and I thought
Miami's coaches. I think Tyler threw like 5 touchdowns and almost 400 yards in that game.
Yes, he did. And I thought Miami's coaches owned that game. They were so well prepared. The game plan was great. I thought Shannon Dawson was phenomenal that day, and clearly they benefited also from Texas A&M having no clue what they were doing with this set of personnel.
Right, but what I'm trying to say is you have to look at 1 or 2 games every year as a one-off, either for the good or for the bad. There's always going to be those weird games every year, and it happened when Miami was winning national championships. I remember that game. I think it was Boston College, right, where Phil, whatever his name is, the quarterback for BC, Ed Reed intercepts the ball in the end zone, or Miami doesn't win the national championship, but doesn't go on and play for the national championship that year. There's always going to be that game where a bad team is going to play right with you, and where you're going to beat a good team. Like those are that's just the way, the nature of the beast in college football now. So what we do know and what we knew before, that's the other thing. There's nothing we don't know different about this team that we didn't already know. That's why the staggering amount of criticism of the passing offense and Tyler Van Dyke and Shannon Dawson is somewhat disturbing, because it makes no sense. And we knew this literally on the show, Gary. I've been saying it to you. It's an average team. Tyler Van Dyke's inconsistent. The offense.
I agree. So why are the expectations so high? Why is there this great implosion when they lose a game? Why? How did the expectations?
How ugly it was.
They ratcheted it up here in year 2 of Mario. Mario's never said anything to try to ratchet up the expectations. He's always very blunt.
Yes, he has.
No, he's not.
Of course,
every time anything good happens, he always says there's a long way to go, and there is a long way to go. He's not trying. He didn't come into the season trying to tell people we're going to go 11-1 and we're going to be in the college football playoff. He never made a prediction one way or the other.
Column is fancy that as coach speak. Mario's biggest problem, and he says it on the on his shows and to the media. He says, "I will never throw a player under the bus." But he'll praise players, and that's part of the problem. Is all he does is talk about how good everyone is and how great everything's going. He needs to do what the old school Miami coaches did and criticize players when they deserve criticism. It's okay to do that. I don't understand.
He's trying to keep it positive.
Culture where you can't say, this guy had a bad game, he needs to do better. Why is that so horrible all of a sudden? It sends a message to the players publicly they need to be better, And it sends messages to the fans that, hey, don't ratchet up the expectations for a 10-win season when we're a 7 or 8 win team, basically, which is
I
what
tried to say before the season, it's about managing expectations. I mean, we're told you're over under 7.5 games. This is this is your team. And these are objective people that are setting the bar. They don't wear the orange and green colored glasses. Okay. They're saying if you win 8 games, that's a great season. Okay. So we know going in that in relation to other teams
not a great
around the country. Yeah, right. And but I mean, the expectations were set at the right level. And I remember saying that also before the season. I think the bar is set in the right place at 7.5. And so I personally am not surprised by any of this. I mean, we've been watching this level of football for years here. It's win some, lose some,
and
that's how it's going to be.
What did you post before the game? I expected a tremendous Miami victory this game.
I didn't say I expected them to play very well against NC State. I did because I was looking at the body language of the players and I was looking at their focus and the intensity that they were warming up with, and I felt like they were ready to play. And I didn't see anything in that game to suggest to me that they weren't ready to play. What broke down is the passing game. The passing game was atrocious. And, you're not going to win that game just running the ball 5 yards at a clip. And that's part of the problem. When your strength is running the ball 5 yards at a clip, you're keeping teams in the game. If you're not hitting big, it's like when NC State was in trouble early in that game yesterday, they had a section of plays on their play sheet that was designed to throw Miami off whack with trick plays, formations, and misdirection. And for about 2 minutes,
how come Miami doesn't do that to other teams?
Well, that's what I'm getting at. Why don't they?
Yes.
You're absolutely right.
Annoys the hell out of me.
NC State's going into that game saying we can't match up with these guys athletically. If we're going to win this game, we have to find some opportunities during the course of the game to strike and get some cheap yards and figure out a way to score. Their offensive coordinator, God bless him, congratulations on that one drive. He absolutely did that and got a touchdown out of it, which was obviously one of the critical factors in the game. But I did say that before the game because I liked what I was seeing, which I want to unpack a few of the things you said, and that brings me to number one, which is culture. Okay, the culture is better. Okay, and if you wanted to see evidence of that, okay, all you had to do was look at that goal line stand late in the fourth quarter. The game was probably gone. They weren't going to be able to erase the deficit, but they had the pride. And, goal line stands, that's not fun football. That's like beating the shit out of each other for an inch, okay? They had the pride to stand in there and fight for that and not let them get another score, another touchdown. They ended up kicking the field goal. But I thought that was a statement on the culture. Now, no one cares. No one wants to hear it. Everyone's mad at that moment. But I think the culture this year is better. Okay. I think that the program in general, I think the talent, while it's not elite in too many places, is better. We continue to have the same problems that we've had for many years. We have a shortage of elite talent on the roster. Every game is knockdown, drag out. A couple plays are deciding them. Sometimes we're winning them. Sometimes we're losing them. And it just simply is what it is. Now, another point you made that I wanted to comment on was the defensive system. I love Lance Guidry. I love his system. It is when he is on, man, Miami plays defense as well as anybody. Okay. But the thing that I've noticed is, and this is what he has to figure out, there's a couple plays a game that he takes the foot off the gas, and this defense becomes very average very quickly. And great example was at NC State, game-changing moment. They don't get the 4th and 1. They've got NC State pinned down by their goal line, and it ends up being 3rd and I can't remember if it was 7 or 8. It was 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 8 down there. I think it was like 3rd and 7 from the 4-yard line. And pressure had been what the defense was thriving on all night, and it was working great. In that instance, Lance Guidry called the zone. They went into a zone, sat back, and didn't react quick enough. They're just keeping everything in front of them and didn't react quick enough. And NC State completed the pass down the field for the first down. And that was the play where I guess the receiver, Corey Couch, was trailing the receiver. Cam Kinchins came up and made the tackle, but didn't get there in time to break up the pass. Okay, so they get the first down. Okay, now NC State's got some momentum. They bring in Brennan Armstrong. Okay, now we know for years when Brennan Armstrong comes in the game, he's coming in to run the ball. Like, that was no secret. Okay, so they know the quarterback is going to run the ball. How does he bust loose for a 15-yard gain? I mean, that's inexplicable. On top of it, now James Williams is losing his composure because he's frustrated at the way the game's going. And he gets a 15-yard penalty for throwing the guy out of bounds up high. Okay, so now they pick up 30 yards on a simple play of the quarterback running into the middle. Then James Williams, again, who, this is the knock on James Williams. He just loses it sometimes and becomes just very average very quickly. Totally whiffs on a tackle on the running back, and he busts, what was it, 35 yards for the touchdown to put the game away. So the point I'm making is 31 yards. So the point I'm making is you have this great defensive performance that was absolutely off the charts for the whole night, and the whole thing went bye-bye in a span of a couple minutes by a play call that probably wasn't aggressive enough, and then just a letdown by a guy that's supposed to be one of your best players. And on a couple bang plays, boom, just like that, game over. Like, you're only down by 4. There were 6-7 minutes left in the game. So listen, everyone's mad at Tyler. He's playing like garbage, no argument. Now they got to go to FSU, like Matt said, and I agree with him. Not necessarily the greatest place to throw Emory Williams right now. They're a friend of mine's got a racehorse, young racehorse, shows a lot of talent. And the horse was trying to run too fast, too quick, and started developing shin splints and stuff, and had to be sidelined for a while. You don't want Emory Williams to get shin splints. Okay, he's a young kid with potential. They were able to get him into the home game against Clemson because they had to. And Shannon Dawson did a good job managing that game, and Emory Williams, and they got out of there with an overtime victory. Okay, I'm not sure, and I'm glad Matt and I agree with this, so we don't have to argue, that Doak Campbell Stadium on Saturday is the best place to throw Emory Williams at this time. I will be surprised if they do it, but I don't think there's any question that we are nearing the end of Tyler Van Dyke at Miami. And I will be very surprised if either side really wants him to come back next year. He needs a change. You look at like what it's done for other guys like Bo Nix going to Oregon. There's many quarterbacks that have transferred and been better off where they went. Even Sam Hartman at Notre Dame this year. I know they lost the other day, but he's done fairly well there. And sometimes quarterbacks just need a change of atmosphere. I think that would be good for Tyler Van Dyke, although it would mean, damn, he has to learn a 4th offense in his college career, which is just an absolute nightmare. Maybe he can hook up with Rhett Lashley. I'm not sure what SMU's quarterback situation is, but if he could hook up with Rhett Lashley for his final year in college, he knows the offense. To me, that would be the greatest thing for Tyler Van Dyke. I do think Miami needs to move on at this point and do something different. It's become too toxic and not good for anybody. But for this Saturday, FSU, I would be surprised if we did not see Tyler Van Dyke start again. But we will see how that goes. So Matt, to summarize the NC State experience, obviously a lot of focus on the quarterback. I personally felt it was way bigger than that. I think Shannon Dawson is struggling right now as a play caller. I thought the receivers were struggling to get separation, although they often were double covered. Opposing defenses right now are getting the better of the Miami Hurricanes. I don't know if they figured something out. They seem to be copycatting each other. But Miami's not going to win maybe another game if they don't get their passing game back.
I mean, you, like the Miami offense, seem to have trouble getting out of your own way. I was trying to interrupt you because fans are going to have a field day. They don't like it when you or I or anybody else, for that matter, makes it seem like the running game's the problem when it obviously is not. The running game
I
is
didn't
one
say
of
the
the
running
top.
game's a problem.
Can I talk for 2 minutes?
Yeah, you can, but I didn't say the running game's a problem.
When you say it's an average running back room, just like when Mario says everything's so
It
great,
is.
people
Wait,
here.
who's elite? Who's elite? You say Mark Fletcher's elite? Based on a little bit that you've seen this year.
Listen, I don't know how much crack you smoked this morning,
Elite.
but listen, just take the chill pill and relax for 2 seconds. So people think you're a Tyler apologist, and when you say that Mark Fletcher is an average back who's not great, what your eyes tell you when he actually is healthy and plays is something completely different. You can tell if you've covered football for a long time, and I've covered football for a long time, and so have you. You watch a guy's tape, and you can tell within a game or two if a guy's got elite talent. And
were you in diapers when Edgerrin James, Clinton Portis, Willis McGahee, and Frank Gore played here?
Correct.
You were in diapers back then?
His vision and his quickness for his size is up there with anybody. Listen, I was here. Willis McGahee would pull trucks up streets. He was the strongest, fastest combination of various things I've ever seen in my life. Mark Fletcher's a little different than Mark Fletcher's. Actually, I would say he's not as fast as McGahee. Period. He's not as fast as McGahee, but he's got more power than McGahee. And NC State's run defense is one of the best in the ACC, and actually one of the best in the country. They have very stout defensive linemen, and Miami's offensive linemen. There's a reason that not a single Miami offensive lineman graded out, I think, above 62%. They were getting pushed backwards. Mark Fletcher, he ran for 113 yards? 90 of those came after contact. He had almost 4 yards a carry after contact against one of the top run defenses in the country as a true freshman. And Gary's going to tell you it's an average running backs room with him. I think Henry Parrish is average. I think AJ Allen.
He's the number 2 running back. They need an elite back to go with him.
I think Henry Parrish is average. I think AJ Allen is above average, but has trouble with off-field things.
By the way, I'm trying to chill over here, so don't get me too riled up.
And Don Chaney's an above average back to me also, who just can't stay healthy. It's a really good running backs room. The whole problem with this offense, I don't know why you're even mentioning the running backs. That's not a problem. It is an elite group, in my opinion, with Mark Fletcher on board, especially if Toronto Citizen can come back. And with the running backs coming in next year, this is going to be one of the best running backs in the country.
They need Citizen and Kevin Riley, at least one of those guys, to be elite.
And what you're really sugarcoating, when you say the things you say, it's really code, the dog whistles that you always hear about on CNN and Fox News or whatever. The dog whistle you're sending, which nobody ever picks up on, except for me, is you're saying this is Mario Cristobal's fault. Okay? That's what people should be hearing, even though that's not what you're trying to say, but it is the truth. Because Mario Cristobal has done
started. I'm not ready to blame anything on Mario.
You've said the talent level across the board is not good enough. You literally just said it.
It's not.
And what Mario Cristobal has done to this program to this point.
It's unrealistic to expect when your better players are true freshmen for them to be moving the needle on that front.
Here's the problem. What Mario Cristobal has done to this point is he's a great recruiter. And what we now know is he's a terrible transfer portal guy. Manny Diaz was the king of the transfer portal. He brought in really top talent. And what you see with Mario, I was just looking at it while you were going on and on for the last 45 minutes. He's had 15 roster spots in the last 2 years. 15 roster spots taken up by portal guys that were just total wastes. Total waste. And I could tell you all the names right now, but I literally wrote them down. The only guy, he took 17 and 14, so 31 total. The only guys you can really say were a hit, and I'm not counting Jaden Davis as a hit. To me, he's average because he can't cover, but he's great in blitzing and coverage. I'm talking about, in blitzing and run support. The guys that I think were actually hits in terms of, very far above average players, maybe not championship level, but at least far above average. You got Matt Lee, I think Francisco Maligoa, even though he's been a little inconsistent. I think Javion Cohen, and I'd even put Branson Dean in there just for the sake of argument, because I think if Branson's healthy, he can be a difference maker.
A good pickup.
That's 4. Okay, that's 4 this year. I'm not including KJ Cloyd, Anthony Campbell, Luis Cristobal, Tyler Harrell, Cam McCormick, Devontae Brown, Thomas Gore.
KJ Cloyd's been a good pickup. He's played some.
He doesn't even start. He lost his starting job. I'm saying above average.
But he's helped them this year.
You're not even listening to my rationale for these lists. You got to be well above average. If you're going to take in a guy in the transfer portal and cost yourself a freshman or a roster spot in the future, because it's hard to get rid of portal guys when you take them and they're not seniors, right? Because now their career's over. They can't transfer anywhere without sitting out. So that's what I'm calling a hit. A hit, 4 hits out of 17. The to be determined is Burrows, AJ Allen, and Jadeus Richard. Those 3 are to be determined, but 4 hits. Okay, out of 17 so far.
You could put Jadeus Richard on the bust. He hasn't done a damn thing all year.
Okay, so whatever. There's still 4 hits out of 17. Last year, out of the 14, the only guys that were hits were Messidor, maybe Darryl Porter. Darryl Porter couldn't win a starting job last year. He's been pretty good this year. I don't know. He's borderline. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Make it 6.
Give him the benefit of the doubt.
So that's 6 hits, okay, out of 31 transfer portal players that are supposed to be his plan for winning now.
So who are your busts from the 15 this year? Who are your busts?
Okay, not busts, but just not difference makers. KJ Cloyd's a backup.
Yeah, I disagree with you on Cloyd. Go ahead.
He's a backup. How can you call him a difference maker?
I'm with you. Go ahead.
Anthony Campbell's here for 1 year. He's done nothing. He may be redshirt. Luis Cristobal, Tyler Harrell, Cam McCormick has been not up to par even as a blocker. His grades have been awful, and he missed horrible blocks last game. Devontae Brown and Thomas Gore.
Devontae Brown, he's starting.
He couldn't even win a starting job. I
understand, but now he's starting.
Just stop talking. Fans can disagree on the YouTube channel.
Who would you put out there if you didn't have him?
What?
Who would you be putting out there right now if you didn't have him?
I mean, Damari Brown. You bring in freshmen. You needed an extra freshman. Whatever. It is what it is.
They're not ready to play. At least Devontae has played some college football.
If you're gonna take a transfer portal guy, it's got to be a guy who can play.
I'm just going to say I'm up on Devontae Brown.
Devontae Brown graded out terribly and had a pass interference call last game.
I understand, but thank God they have him right now because they got to go to Florida State next week. And the other guys are hurt.
Here's the problem with you. You're okay taking average transfer portal guys because we need a backup. We need somebody who can just be on the field.
Matt, this is not a good roster.
Take a transfer portal guy, make him a great transfer
portal guy. What happens here when they lose a game?
I'd rather take a freshman than an average portal guy because you're building for a championship in the future. You and I have totally different perspectives.
Do you see what happens here when we lose a game?
So what? What's I don't understand. What is the point
do you
of having
the pain that people feel that they express?
Again, I can't keep saying this over and over. Mario from the beginning shouldn't have been ratcheting up expectations. He should have said, we're starting over. We're not going in the portal and taking average guys. We're building through recruiting. There were 2 years of unlimited recruiting numbers you could take that he could have taken advantage of. Instead, he blew 31 spots on a bunch of so-so transfers. I don't know how many other ways to say it.
They blew a lot of them. I'll agree with you on that.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm not agreeing with you on every one.
5 and 7.
But I agree that they blew a lot. They blew a lot of
5 and 7 or 6 and 6 and 7 and 5. I'd rather have freshmen and sophomores that are going to be built for the future, not guys who are here for 2 years and gone that have been average. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Go to Clemson. Where
the guys from last year. Remember the guys from last year? The last year transfers you took that were supposed to be so great to help them win right away? John Dennis, Mitchell Agude.
John Dennis so far is a 0. Okay, go ahead.
Moultrie, Lichtenstein.
Wait, slow down. Moultrie, no. Wait, who?
Lichtenstein,
I would say a plus. He's played a lot of football. Go ahead.
Is he a difference maker? He played 14
reps. No, but if you didn't have him, you'd be way worse than what you are. Keep going.
I keep trying to.
I don't want to debate Lichtenstein. It's not.
Why are you trying to win right now?
It's not worth the airtime. Keep going. Keep reading.
Let me ask you a question for real. Do you really think the focus should be on winning this year and last year? Even though we know now, you still think that?
Based on the pain
who else do we play? Who else do we play?
Based on the pain that I see the fan base go through every time they lose, yes. I think winning a few extra games now is important.
If you have a chance,
you got to win as many as you can win.
If you can go 4-8 and 4-8, and then win 10 to 12 games the next 3 or 4 years, or you can go 7 and 6 and 5 and 7 and win 8 and 9 games the next 3 years. Which one are you taking, Gary? Because it sounds like you're taking the first. It sounds like you're not taking the first one.
Since it's Florida State week, what were Mike Norvell's records his first 2 years at Florida State?
I don't cover Florida State. Why do you compare my?
I think they won 3. They won 3 games year one and 5 games year 2.
A million programs with these.
How did they get? And last year, what they get to 9, 8, 9, I think.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so here's my.
Guess what? They used
how is he done
they got
Matt?
Winners in the portal, not losers like we've had. You can't lose 17 recruiting spots in the portal.
But
you got to get winners in the portal. It's got to be free agents, not just another guy, man. I don't even understand what you're talking about.
I would like for you to research Florida State's portal because they have done it in the portal. Yes, but I'd be curious what their hit rate has been.
Well, I don't cover Florida State, but I can certainly get us with a Florida State on 3 guy, and we can go through the entire numbers.
I would be very interested to know what their hit rate has been compared to Miami's. I'm not defending Miami's talent evaluation. Okay, I personally think that it needs to be better, but I think
that's the point, isn't it?
You have to use the portal in today's football. You have to.
Florida State took 12 transfers this year. Keon Coleman,
great.
One of them, Darrell Jackson, Jaheim Bell. I think Jeremiah Byers. Fentrell Cypress.
I don't know their team well enough. I can't tell you whether they're all hit or misses. We'd have to research it. But listen, the bottom line is that
last year they got Micah Pittman, Jared Verse, Johnny Wilson. I mean, these are already way more guys. Tatum,
Jared Verse, Johnny Wilson was a great pick.
They already have way more guys that are difference makers in their team than
no doubt, and that's why they're competing for the national title. That's why they're competing for the national title this year.
They're recruiting and they're getting free agents. Like that's what Miami has to do. If you're going to go in the portal
more free agents than recruiting. More free agents.
If you're going to go in the portal that much, you can't just keep getting another guy. Like if Mario's goal was to win now while recruiting, he's not won the portal. He's lost the portal. I think he's winning recruiting, but the short term, you're going to just have failure like this when you're not winning in the portal at the same time as you're recruiting. Winning the recruiting will pay dividends down the road. Now, could he have taken more recruits instead of those wasted transfer spots? Sure. And just some of those guys who are 3-stars, believe it or not, Ray Lewis, they pan out sometimes. And it's okay to take 3-stars who want to be here, who love it and want to work and prove everyone wrong. There's something to be said for that. And believe me, there was 10 3-stars at every position across the board that Mario could have taken in the last recruiting class if he wanted to, and try to develop them with the work ethic and the potential to build into players. They're projects 3-stars, right? But he could have instead of the transfer.
They're taking 3-stars, but don't you have to have a conviction on a kid that he's going to be a great player? Like
we already know when you take a portal guy out of desperation, when you take 5 cornerbacks in 1 year out of the portal, chances are you're desperate and you're saying we'll take anybody. They shouldn't have been so desperate.
They were desperate. They were desperate. They were desperate. They were. They still are desperate. They're desperate.
Yeah, they should have used their spots more judiciously. Anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great day. All right. That was terrible as usual, Gary. I'm going to go have some breakfast.
Here's the thing that it's like
still recording.
It's like, how in the world do they things happen at this program that are just astonishing, and it's been under every coach. Like you show up at NC State and all of a sudden you don't have a passing game. Like, how does this happen? Like, even when they were losing, and Manny Diaz was getting fired, they still had a passing game when they showed up at the games. Tyler Van Dyke was still getting 350 yards a pop. They actually you'll remember when he was playing, they were winning games, and Manny almost kept his job because of how well Tyler Van Dyke was playing. But they decided to make the move anyway. So how does this happen here? That all of a sudden the quarterback that was showing so much promise, all of a sudden can't play. All of a sudden he's a pariah. You got alumni posting pictures on their social media of him in handcuffs being escorted off the field. Everybody wants him gone, and it probably is time for him to move on. But it's like, how does this happen here? How do you suddenly not have a passing game after you had one earlier in the season? It just, none of it makes any sense to me, Matt. So look, now they got to go to Florida State. We'll be talking more about that game this week. But I think one thing we do agree on is it's just a little inexplicable at this point, 9 games into the season, that this is the conversation that we're having. I mean, it's appropriate, but I mean, we have some different ideas. I think you've got a little bit of an overinflated sense of the level of talent, but that'll play out.
Offense is awful. I've said it numerous times. There's not enough championship level players on either side of the ball, and it's a miracle what Lance Guidry is doing on defense. But I have an overinflated sense. Okay, if you say so.
Whatever. We won't argue about that anymore. All right. Before we move on, let me take a moment, guys, and talk about GameTime.co, because some people might need some tickets for the Florida State game this weekend, and Game Time would be a great place to go. And the thing about Game Time is they're great for last minute tickets. They have flash deals, they have zone deals, and It's easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area, outside your area. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even have to be a sporting event. It could be a concert. It could be a show. Game Time always will find you the best deal that there is out there, and they will show you exactly what your view from your seat will look like with their graphics. And they have a lowest price guarantee. If you find a better price for a seat in the same section, same row, they will give you 110% guarantee. You get event cancellation protection. All of that, all in one package when you go to gametime.co. So go, if you want to have the app, download the app and create an account. And when you make your first ticket purchase, you use the code CANES, CANES, and they will give you $20 off your first purchase. That's CANES, $20 off your first purchase. You also can go to gametime.co and do the same thing when you check out. So go to your app store, get the Game Time app, or go to gametime.co. Hook yourself up with great tickets to any event you want to go to. Save your $20 off your first purchase with your code CANES. Last minute tickets, the lowest price, guaranteed. You won't be sorry that you used Game Time. All right. So, Matt, there's still so many things for us to unpack and talk a little bit about here. We sent you to the lab after the NC State game, and just to give the origins of it, I was watching the game last night. I'm like, Matt, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand what we're watching here. These defenses week after week seem to have totally figured out this Shannon Dawson offense. And so we had you spend all night after the game in the lab watching film, trying to figure it out. And you came up with a conclusion that they are confusing Tyler Van Dyke, which is kind of obvious, but that the offensive line and running backs really are playing kind of well, which makes it all the more frustrating.
Oh yeah, what we already talked about is what I wrote about this morning. Again, yeah, I mentioned that before. It's frustrating when the defense is actually doing its job and the run game is doing its job and the offensive line is doing its job, and then all of a sudden, Tyler Van Dyke just loses his mind. And his affect, I think, is also a reason fans are so put off. He just looks disinterested. He doesn't seem to care and have the same passion that we're used to as Miami Hurricanes reporters and fans. So look, you guys can all read the story. I mean, I just, honestly, at this point, I just want to put this game in the back pocket and never look at it again or think about it again. It was a painful game, I'm sure, for everyone to watch. Because it was so frustrating when you see how badly Miami players wanted to win and how hard they played, and then just have the quarterback be that off and the offensive game plan just up the middle, throw horizontal, deep pass every 5 or 10 passes, incomplete. They threw 3 passes of over 19 yards the whole game, 0 for 3. Tyler's should have had 4 interceptions, whatever. It was just a very frustrating game. I know why fans were upset. It's just brutal.
All right, so we've got that on the website today. We'll also have multiple opportunities to hear from Mario Cristobal today. We'll have that coming at you later on in the day. We're going to be speaking to both coordinators today. That will be very interesting, and we will have that on the website today as well. So a lot of stuff coming your way on that front. Let's see, on the recruiting front, the Canes got a commitment over the weekend from a junior college offensive lineman, Markel Bell. I had a chance to eyeball him at the Virginia game, I think it was. And, man, tall, lanky kid. He doesn't have a finished offensive lineman's body yet. I would not be surprised if they take Markel Bell, had him spend a year with Aaron Feld, building up his body, building up his strength, and then him emerging to replace Jalen Rivers as left tackle in the 2025 season. That's how I would envision that playing out right now. Obviously, injuries and different things could play a factor in that, but he's a really good offensive line prospect that hopefully Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirabal will be able to mold into a future left tackle here at Miami. So you can read about Markel Bell on the website. You can get an analysis of him and get to know him a little bit better. Let's see other recruiting stories. Miami wide receiver commit Chance Robinson showed up at Ole Miss this past weekend, and he is going to be at Ohio State next weekend. And look, Miami's passing game is struggling right now, and that means that these wide receiver recruits are going to get targeted by other people, and Miami's going to have to fight life and death to keep them. Point blank, that's what they're telling him when he goes on to see Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, when he goes to see Ryan Day next weekend at Ohio State. They're obviously going to be trying to steal him away from Miami. So you get the latest update on Chance Robinson today on the website. And we have some other recruiting stuff on there as well for you guys to check out. But those are the highlights. Let's see. We also obviously have a lot of basketball coverage today because the basketball season kicks off tonight, and the Canes will be playing. And this is hysterical. I mean, Matt and I were laughing about it because who has ever heard of NJIT? I can't even tell you what an NJIT is, but that is who Miami will be starting their season with tonight in basketball. So we've got several stories for you guys to dive into on basketball today. And a couple other things as well, but this has been a little bit of a long show, so I think we're going to let you guys go to work. We thank you so much for joining us and putting up with us. I mean, we're like you, man. We get emotional about this stuff, man. It just kills me. I go there to Raleigh, and I'm at the game on Saturday night. And thank you so much to all you viewers and CaneSport subscribers that I met up there, and it was my total pleasure to meet you guys and talk to you. But I also feel for you because, you guys come, you travel, and you're looking for a great experience there. And when the team doesn't come through and plays the way it did, at least on offense the other night, and you have to go home sour, and, you're not happy. And I know our message boards are the place to vent, and we let you guys have a lot of latitude on them. And, I mix it up with you guys sometimes. We don't always agree on everything. Like, for example, this weekend, as bad as it was, I'm not blaming the whole thing on Tyler Van Dyke. I mean, it was just way too bad to blame on one kid. I didn't see a lot of receivers getting open. I didn't see a very well-designed game plan. I thought Shannon Dawson needed to do more. I thought when he finally adjusted in the fourth quarter to what they were doing, they actually had some success, and that's when they moved it all the way down the field to get down to fourth and goal, or 4th and 1, I guess it was. And, it just took way too long to make those adjustments. I mean, he spread the field, the running game would continue to be effective, and they started finding some creases to get some passes to receivers. Colby Young caught a couple quick slants, for example. And that's what a elite offensive coordinator is supposed to be able to do. He's supposed to be able to adjust to what the defense is doing. I felt the other night it took way too long. And I like Shannon Dawson. I think he's been pretty good in six out of 9 games this year. But that's, he's got to be better too. That's not good enough. And but I just thought it was way too bad to be the responsibility of one guy. And I don't know if I'm right. I don't know if I'm wrong. That was just my feeling on it. I thought the reaction was a little over the top. I don't think you are going to bully Mario Cristobal into making a decision that's going to make you feel good to see Tyler Van Dyke's Miami career put to an end. It just makes too much sense to start Tyler at Florida State this weekend. But, we'll see what happens. Maybe he will. Maybe that's when they watch film, they will decide this is all Tyler's fault, and they will make a move. We'll probably learn more about that maybe as soon as tomorrow. We'll see what they have to say. So if you like this show, like this channel, if you're on YouTube, hit your subscribe and like buttons. It helps us with the algorithms at YouTube. If you're not yet a CaneSport subscriber, please go to our website. Please join our community of fans, become a subscriber. We'll have for you new subscribers, we will have a big game special again this week that will let you come in at a good introductory price. And, and I don't think you'll be sorry. I think you'll like our site, and we do our best every day to enhance your fan experience, whether the Canes are playing well, they're playing bad, Whether Matt Shodell wakes up with a stomach ache, it doesn't really matter. We do our best to make your fan experience as good as it can be. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow, everybody.